Good afternoon. Would you like to try a free sample of our double fudge brownie?
Oh, sure. That's very good. I'll just take one more, just to be sure. Yep, still very good.
Some things never change, like never being able to take just one free sample. And Geico saving folks lots of money on their car insurance.
Is that macadamia nut I taste? Let me take one more.
Sir,
Yeah, I thought so.
15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
All right, it's another film study by the numbers. Dan, Ken, how are you guys doing?
Life's good, Josh. How about you?
Yep, doing good.
All right, easy to get into it. We've been waiting all week. We're getting closer. It's Friday or Thursday at like midnight if you're listening to this as soon as it comes out, but it's probably Friday for most of you guys. So postseason football starts tomorrow, so we're all getting ready for that. But real quick, MyBookie. Speaking of postseason football, now's your chance to make money with MyBookie. Use the promo code RAVENS, and they'll match you halfway to give you a head start on building your bankroll. Put $400 in, and they'll give you an extra $100 to play with. Or if you only want to do a little, put in $25, and they'll give you $12.50 to play with. Whatever you put in there, they'll give you some free money so that you can go ahead and have fun with the postseason games, wildcard games this weekend, and the championship game on Monday. All right, guys. Let's get to some numbers as we kind of look back and look ahead. And I'll just throw out there the number 700 for the miles to Nashville.
It's going to be a long drive. Let's face it. I'm not looking forward to it.
But hopefully it'll be a great game. All right. Looking at the numbers. First set of numbers is 3.1, 2.9, and 6.0. That's the yards before contact, yards after contact, and total yards per carry for J.K. Dobbins per Pro Football Reference. 3.1 yards before contact ranks 5th amongst all rushers, so that's any positions, not just running back. Lamar Jackson actually ranks 2nd with 5.0, only behind Kyler Murray at 5.2. 2.9 yards after contact ranks 2nd amongst all rushers, tied with 2 others, behind only Ronald Jones. A couple others to note in yards after contact: Derrick Henry, which we'll see this weekend, at 2.8, which is 5th, and Gus Edwards 2.7, which is tied for 6th. And then in combined 6.0 yards per attempt is 3rd, behind again Lamar and Kyler. So that's pretty remarkable for Dobbins in his rookie year, being 5th before contact and 2nd after contact. That's a powerful combination.
That is a great combination. And as we were reminded all year, all offseason, and all most of the year too for Lamar Jackson, is you can't compare running backs to quarterbacks. So Dobbins is number 1 among running backs in terms of yards per carry this year. So terrific to have a rookie do that. He certainly had a big year. I'm going to talk specifically about the Cincinnati game with my first numbers 50 and 48. 50 blocks in level 2. There is a 54 run plays in this game. You don't have very many blocks in level 2, though it can happen on a pass play. 48 pulls in this game, which I believe is the record for any Ravens game. The 21 by Bradley Bozeman is an individual record, although the Ravens once had 22 out of the left guard position from the combination of Hurst and Bozeman in a game 2 years ago. But 21 individual pulls, he hit 16 of those. The Ravens' historic 404 rushing yards. I don't know about you, Dan. I was a little upset they didn't get the record after Hill had that 16-yard run. They seemed to be very much in step with it.
Yeah, they were on pace and on going right towards it, and then it just kind of slowed down. It was pretty rough to watch.
It was tough with Huntley in there. Now the Bengals had a lot of brother-in-law play in that second half. We see that in the preseason a lot. Preseason, that's not right. Camp, where offensive and defensive players on the same team just aren't playing too hard against each other. They just kind of want to stay engaged, look like they're trying for the coach. There was a lot of that. And the guy who was most guilty of it, Jermaine Pratt, the big mouth. He really wanted no part of any blocks in that second half, didn't make any good attempts to play through contract. Really had a problem. Anyway, lots of two-man pulls in this game, inflate that pull number, but just a incredibly fun afternoon to watch the defense roll and the offense just continually run after run, break through into the second level, break through contact, make great blocks. Just a lot of fun to watch a great running game.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've seen it, but if not, you should definitely check out the Ravens mic'd up for the game. They had Bradley Bozeman, hilarious. He would
Oh,
just
really?
his interactions with the other offensive linemen, defensive linemen when they cut him. It was just he's just hilarious. That's the
I
first
gotta
time I've
see
seen
that.
him, so
Gotta
it's
see that.
definitely worth checking out. All right, my second set of numbers is 1.67 and 1.14. That's the rush yards over expected for all of 2020 for J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. This is per Next Gen Stats. That's second and third best. This is only running backs, and only behind Nick Chubb, which is 1.75. So second and third best rush yards over expected. So this stat takes into account where the offensive line is in comparison to where the defense is at the time of handoff.
Right. So that's that 22-man Austrian model originally that was won the Big Data Bowl last year.
Exactly. Yep.
Cool story there.
Yep. And one cool final number about that is this last week, Dobbins actually posted an 8.84 rush yards over expected per run, which is the highest out of any running back in all of 2020. So just an outstanding performance from him this last week, if you couldn't tell watching.
Let me think. He had about 12 and a half yards per carry, something like that in the game.
Yep.
That was it. So 8.8 of that was over expectation. That's pretty good.
Yep.
Some of that might have been the Bengals not trying, but I got no problem with a fantastic game.
Exactly. And it wasn't close, the 8.84 to what the second highest was. So it was pretty remarkable.
Very good, very good. Okay, got one more because we're really obviously doing a lot with JK and Gus here, but 0.2 and 51%. 0.2 is the expected points per play added by each J.K. Dobbins run this year, by far the highest for any NFL running back. And if you look at the chart, it's really not close. He's by far the outlier on the expected points per run. Most backs and most runs, frankly, in the NFL, which means most backs, have negative expected yards per attempt, expected points per attempt, because you actually lose relative to a typical play when you do that. The other statistic they have along those lines is success rate. So success rate measures how often did the running back register a positive expectation play. So there are a lot of different success rates around the NFL. You know, you did your thing on series success rate, and that used the 45%, 60%, 100, 100.
That was based off of the likelihood of getting a first down. So it was a series success versus a play success. It's a little different.
I understand, but did you have anything underneath that was a play success component, like that used the Football Outsiders formula or similar thing? Well, anyway,
I don't think so, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
The point is just there are other formulas for this. This one is positive expected points. The highest percentage in the entire NFL was 51% success in terms of percentage of plays that added expected points for any running back, and that was Gus Edwards. He basically keeps you on schedule from a down and distance perspective. Short yardage backs who convert third down plays will tend to do very well in this category because that's always going to add expected points. But both running backs led the league in their respective statistics, and amazingly, Lamar Jackson was better in both statistics than either of them.
Yep.
He was at 0.23 and 52%.
Yep, it's pretty amazing as we've seen all of these statistics. That just a great year so far from the running game. All right, another stat looking back to last week: negative 25.8% and negative 7.3. The first number is the completion percentage above expected, or in this case below expected, for Brandon Allen in Week 17. He ended up with a 28.6% completion percentage, just going 6 for 21, so pretty terrible. And negative 7.3 is the air yard differential, which is the intended air yards of 9.2 compared to a completed air yards of 1.9. So he was trying to throw the ball downfield, but was just not able to connect on anything. Some because of the wide receiver effort, some because of just great defensive play. The negative 25.8% completion above expected was the second worst in all of 2020, behind only Jimmy G in Week 5, which had a negative 25.9. So basically the same. And the negative 7.3 was the worst in 2020. So just a terrible performance from Brandon Allen, a lot of which the Ravens defense had a lot to do with. So
Yeah, I mean, I was listening to that and I'm thinking, you know what I think is pretty money about those numbers? Take 28.6%, which is the 6 out of 21. Add 25.9 was the below expectation, approximately might have been 25.3.
Yeah, 25.8. Yep.
25.8. So that takes me to 54.4%, the completion. That means the Ravens, their expected positioning and whatnot, would have expected only a 54% completion percentage against them. That's fantastic. That's a great day of defense, regardless of how crappily Allen threw the ball. And then he certainly helped out with some additional bad play.
Yep.
All right. We're talking about a little bit about pressures now and what the offensive line did in this game. 3 pressures the entire game that were occurred within 3 seconds against the Bengals. There were 5 other pressures that Lamar ran out of. On each of those 5 plays, Orlando Brown missed his block, but he got bailed out of some portion of a pressure. Remember, I give out partial pressure, so not all these would have been a full, but some of them would have been, a half, a third, whatever. And he got very much bailed out in terms of his offensive line score. That still had a good game, but he ought to be buying Lamar dinner over this one.
Yep, made him try a little harder than he probably hoped, I guess. But I think it's key, just keep trying and keep getting your hands on those guys, even if they get by a little bit, because you never know when Lamar will, need help again. So that's pretty cool.
With no fees or minimums on checking and savings accounts, banking with Capital One is like the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Kind of like choosing Charles Barkley in a pickup game.
We'll take Barkley.
Ha! First pick. Sorry, kids.
Yep, even easier than that. And with our top-rated app, you can bank anytime, anywhere, making Capital One an even easier decision.
Okay, here's the plan. Pass me the ball every time.
This is banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
New consumer accounts only. Approval required. Terms apply. Capital One N.A. member FDIC.
Have a BLT the Carl's Jr. way for just $2.99 with charbroiled beef, creamy ranch, and more beef. The new BLT Ranch Double Cheeseburger for just $2.99. Part of charbroiled double deals at Carl's Jr. Feed your happy. Offer valid for limited time at participating Carl's Jr. restaurants. Price and participation may vary. Tax not included.
All right, my next number is actually a set of 4 numbers. This is looking ahead to the Tennessee game. I've got 4 percentages for you: 75%, 63%, 69%, and 62%. This is the red zone scoring efficiencies for the offenses and defenses for Tennessee and Baltimore. So now I'll walk through them. So on the offensive side, we have Tennessee with a red zone scoring percentage of 75%, which is second best, and Baltimore with 63%, which is 12th best. On the defensive side, Tennessee has a red zone scoring defense of 69%, which is third worst.
Allowed. Yeah.
Third worst allowed, yep. And Baltimore with 62%, which is 18th, ranked 18th in allowed. So in both aspects, Baltimore is around the middle of the pack. But it'll be key to see how they stack up against the second best offense and third worst defense. Baltimore finishing drives with touchdowns is really going to be key. In the last 2 matchups against Tennessee, Baltimore was 2 of 8 and only 25%, while Tennessee was 5 for 8, 62.5%. So really finishing with touchdowns is going to be so key in what's been a close matchup the last 2 games.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right, I've got 2 numbers for you, 21 and 9. 21 is the number of DPI calls this year by Jerome Boger, who will be doing the game, and his crew in 15 games this season. 9, the number of roughing the passer calls. That's a lot in both cases, and the Ravens would obviously like a game that's called a little looser with regard to these penalties and not a little tighter, given their history of the relationship between DPI and RTPs for themselves versus their opponents. So I think that's an element that does not favor the Ravens there.
Yeah, the physical defense of Marlin and the pressure on the passer for the Ravens. Those definitely are both a little bit worrisome. So we'll see how that goes. All right, last numbers for me again, a set of 4 percentages: 46%, 49%, 52%, and 34%. This now is the third down conversion percentages for offenses and defenses. On the offensive side, Tennessee has a third down conversion percentage of 46%, which is fifth best, compared to Baltimore, 49%, which is fourth best. On the defensive side, Tennessee allows conversion on third downs at 52%, which is the worst to allow, compared to Baltimore that only allows conversion on 34% of the time, which is second best. Both offenses are very strong on conversion on third down, likely in part due to avoiding third and long situations. The biggest difference comes on the defensive side. In the prior matchup, Baltimore was able to take advantage of this and went 9 for 15, which was 60% on third down conversions. So third down conversions is going to be huge, and just like before with the red zone, these high leverage plays are going to make or break the results, I think.
Every game, absolutely. And, we talk about turnovers being the story, and you hear that from announcers almost every game. With the reduced number of possessions in every game in the NFL now, and two very high-powered offense, it couldn't be more true. And those turnovers really include the number of times you turn it over on fourth down. Yep. And sometimes you can even think of it as being turnover on third down when you don't make a conversion you really should have. So lots of opportunities for the offense to fail. These offenses don't fail a lot, so you better not fail more than your opponent. Last number for me, for numbers 14 and 35. Those are the carries and yards for Jamal Lewis in the 2003 playoff game with Tennessee following his 2,066-yard rush season. So Anthony Wright was at quarterback for those 2003 Ravens. They did not have a lot of offensive choices. They had the best defense in the NFL by a mile, but they tried to win with Jamal Lewis, and in my opinion, that game, they didn't get away from him quickly enough when it wasn't working against a very stout Tennessee defense. This year, I'm certainly hoping Derrick Henry is bottled up in terms of effectiveness. Doesn't have to be that good. Anything close would probably do it in terms of getting the Ravens a win. But that's certainly a case where they need to figure out how to contain Derrick Henry, and these additional linemen better be the difference. Having Williams and Campbell back better be the difference from what happened 7 weeks ago.
Yeah, I think they need to come up huge. It was all on Wolf last time, and having the other Monstars is going to be huge this week, I think.
All right, Dan, always a pleasure, and we'll talk to you next time on Film Study.
"15 minutes could save you 15% or more."
Is that Shakespeare?
Nope, it's Geico.
Yeah, that's Shakespeare from one of his unpublished works. Oh, it be not for awakening. Nay, giveth thou the berries. For 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Nope, it's from Geico, because they help save people money.
Well, I hate to break it to you, but Geico got it from Shakespeare.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.